It's not looking good for Keir Starmer. Humiliated in Wales. In what can only be described as a seismic setback for Labour leader Keir Starmer, recent events in Wales have exposed the stark vulnerabilities of his leadership and the party's direction. The fallout from this humiliation is not just a matter of local politics, it reverberates across the entire UK, suggesting a crisis that could reshape the political landscape for years to come. The stakes are unprecedented, and the implications profound. Critics have long accused Starmer of betraying the very principles that once galvanized the Labour Party. His pivot towards the centre, once seen as a pragmatic response to the chaos of Brexit, now appears as a desperate attempt to appease a fickle electorate. In doing so, he has alienated the party's core supporters, many of whom feel abandoned. The recent electoral drubbing in Wales serves as a stark reminder: the British people will not forgive a leader who forgets his roots. This isn't just a loss, it's a warning shot across the bow of Starmer's leadership. Historically, Wales has been a Labour stronghold, a bastion of working-class solidarity. The party's failure to secure a decisive victory here is alarming, especially in light of the recent local elections. Starmer's inability to connect with voters has drawn parallels to the catastrophic missteps of previous leaders who ignored grassroots concerns. Many fear this pattern will echo into the next general election, potentially leading to a landslide victory for the Conservatives, who are already maneuvering to exploit Labour's weaknesses. In a country still grappling with the fallout of Brexit, a decision that divided the nation and reshaped its political fabric, the urgency of the moment cannot be overstated. Starmer's strategy to distance himself from the contentious debates surrounding the EU seems increasingly inadequate. Analysts warn that without a clear, compelling narrative, Labour risks becoming irrelevant in a political climate characterized by volatility and rapid change. The once unshakable trust in the party is now teetering on the edge of a precipice. The confrontation between Starmer's leadership and the desires of the electorate is not merely a political squabble. It is a struggle for the soul of the Labour Party. Many argue that the party's drift towards centrism, embodied by Starmer's leadership style, represents a broader ideological retreat from the values that once defined it. The powerful voices of dissent, former party leaders, grassroots activists, and even prominent trade unionists, have begun to surface, challenging Starmer to reconnect with the party's foundational principles. This internal strife underscores a critical question: can the Labour Party survive if it continues to alienate its base? The public response has been telling. Social media platforms are flooded with sentiments of disillusionment, with many expressing the feeling that Labour is no longer a viable alternative to the Conservatives. This growing frustration signals a potential shift in political allegiance among traditional Labour voters, who may turn to other parties that better represent their interests and concerns. The country stands at a crossroads, and the ramifications of Starmer's missteps could extend far beyond Wales. As the narrative unfolds, the question remains: what will it take for Starmer to reclaim his footing? Critics argue that a return to the party's progressive roots, prioritizing social justice, workers' rights, and a clear stance on critical issues like healthcare and education, is essential. The ongoing struggle to define a coherent, passionate message is not just a challenge for Starmer, it is a race against time that could determine the fate of the Labour Party itself. The stakes are high, and the consequences of inaction could be dire. If Starmer fails to rally his party and reconnect with the electorate, we may witness the disintegration of Labour as a formidable force in British politics. This could mark a new era of influence for the Conservatives, potentially reshaping the political landscape for generations. In conclusion, the recent events in Wales signal a turning point for Starmer and the Labour Party. It is imperative for supporters and voters alike to engage with the current political climate actively. This is not merely an issue for party insiders, it is a matter that demands the attention of every citizen invested in the future of the UK. Join the conversation, subscribe for updates, and become part of a movement that seeks to reclaim the ideals of fairness, equality, and integrity in our political discourse. The time for action is now. Let your voice be heard.